Thanks so much for coming out. You're the lucky few who figured out there's this cool thing to do that doesn't cost money. What a fun Thursday evening. My name is Ishai Zeldner. I was born here in Woodland. My family lived in Winters at the time, and I grew up in Davis. My dad started our business in 1979, and we were in Winters for about 20 years and moved to Woodland in 1998. That was the first time that we really had like our office and our warehouse in one space, which was really exciting. My whole life growing up, we pretty much had our office in the bedroom that was in between my sister and my bedroom. 40 years of renting like not great spaces has brought us to this point where we were able to actually buy some land and design and build our own building here in Woodland, which is just unimaginable. It's like a dream still, even though we're there and operating out of it. But I've spent the last 4 or 5 years of my life designing and building this building and working with all the architects and engineers and contractors and learning a ton. It's been a wild ride. And with the city. The city's actually been a great partner in growing our business here. Now, 43 years on of business, it really feels like we have the groundwork that we need to bring us into the next generation of our business, which really includes a huge amount of community outreach. What we're doing with the HIVE is we're building a community gathering space in addition to a production and shipping and office type establishment. So not only are we running the business that we have been for many years, but we're adding this public-facing opportunity to engage with all of our products, to showcase other companies' products. We're selling Mead honey wine, which is something that there's not a lot of places to taste that out at bars and restaurants. And we're serving food too, so we have kind of a limited menu, cafe-style menu. And then occasionally we're hosting larger events that are bringing people in to listen to live music and hang out in the courtyard. So our schedule, we're just starting to put together what our schedule looks like. We had an event this past Saturday with a great local band called Boot Juice, and probably had 200 or 300 people come through for that. It was amazing. We were making mango habanero carnitas tacos. All the recipes that we serve at the HIVE, we try to include some unique use of honey, some incorporation of honey into the recipes. So that was a wonderful kind of like first event of the year to start to get a feel for how much excitement there is for what we've been doing. We have been spending all this time building this building and creating a beautiful space, and it felt so good to see people enjoying themselves in the way that I had kind of envisioned. People were coming and saying like, I'd like a bottle of that mead and this mead and a few glasses, and taking it out and enjoying it with their friends and listening to the music, and kids playing in the fountain, playing on the rocks that we had in the garden. This is a rendering of our building that our architect, D. Rosenberg, painted for us at the beginning of our project in 2018. And Dee lives here in Woodland. She's a sole proprietor architect. She did all the drawings. Just incredible amount of work for one person to do. So if you're looking for an architect, she does residential projects too. We worked with local contractors, CJB Construction. They're right on College downtown here. We worked with all local engineers, Pike HVAC installers. It is amazing how much we could source from this town. There's really everything you need here to build a building. It's pretty exciting. A couple quick kind of notes about the building. It is designed to be a zero net energy facility. It's about 20,000 square foot building on around a 3-acre property. So part of that zero net energy is to leave some land without concrete or asphalt on it. So we have about 2 acres of the property is dedicated to pollinator habitat, with about 80% native landscape and the rest kind of other interesting plants that we love and wanted to plant and are generally good for pollinators. So a lot of the reason that we decided to design and build our own building instead of buying and rehabbing one of the older buildings in town is because there just didn't exist any properties that weren't completely covered in asphalt. And so this property happened to be right around the corner from where our warehouse was for 20 years. And it's a property that I had driven by and biked by for years. And it wasn't until around 2016, 2017, I was like, that'd be a good place to put a building. It's got kind of a nice shape to it. And and then it wasn't for sale, but trying to figure out who owned it and approach them about buying it was kind of its own adventure, and it worked out as a win-win situation. So there's like fun little elements all the way through this project. We care a lot about aesthetics. The other reason we decided to design and build our own building is because we wanted to make sure that it was saying what we wanted it to about our business and about our values and about what we're here to do. And so by making it an extremely energy efficient building, by having a lot of pollinator habitat, and by making it extremely aesthetically pleasing, all those things kind of come together to build a great package that people are drawn to. And I'm really excited that it's working to actually bring people in. And at our event this past weekend, someone who was there came up to me who I hadn't met before and was like, "This is the best thing happening in Yolo County." And I was like, "Yes." And I was there with my mom and we had a hug and it was beautiful. This is the culmination of so much. It's hard to explain. I think my biggest fear is that people will look at it and be like, "Oh, this is just another company that got a big influx of funding and built a building or whatever," but it's so much more than that for us. So we wanted to relay that information with every little detail of the building. My sister is going to be joining our business full time later this year. She's also getting married at the Hive. She's a few years older than me and has been pursuing a career in public art for several years. She worked at Yola Basin Foundation and has been at University of Nevada at Reno for several years. So this is a big career shift for her, and her fiance, and they just got puppies, and they're moving back to Davis, Sacramento area. And I'm really excited to have created a beautiful canvas to start to adorn with all sorts of fun public art. We have a nice big wall on the back that faces the freeway on-ramp. We've got nice big walls in the front, and just so many opportunities for murals and garden art and sculptures. So we're really excited to build that out over time. Yeah. Okay. Honey, maybe I'll talk about mead first, and then we'll get into the honey tasting. But first, I actually wanted to ask this first. How many of you had heard about my business before this event or before getting the email about it? So about 2/3, that's pretty amazing.
You do good social media. Yeah.
That's all Liz.
Oh, really? No, it's great, you know what? And now with the whole mask, it's just great. Everything's kind of opening up. You do great social media.
Thank you. Yeah. Couldn't be happier with the work Liz Liu is doing. She helped us open up the tasting room and has really developed our social media, probably doubled our following on there. Great. Yeah, and I think more and more that is going to happen. I mean, we started having our annual warehouse sales 11 years ago or 12 years ago, which is the year that I moved back to Davis. I graduated college. I was going to school in Boulder, Colorado. It's a really hard place to leave. But I had tried a couple things after school, being a financial planner, commercial real estate. That turned out to be two very boring jobs. My parents were voicing a little more that they were tired and ready to retire or needed. They were at the point where they wanted to sell the business, and so and at the time it wasn't profitable. It was valued basically for the inventory and not for any real value of the brand, and that broke my heart because I had seen my parents put their entire adult lives into building this company, and I was like, that can't be. That there's so much potential here. What do you mean? And so I moved back to town and started learning the business. And at the time, the business was just my parents and one other employee and myself. So there was a long ways to go. And when people ask kind of how we made this transition to where we are now, it is all these little moments in the evolution of our business where we decided to use this shelf space slightly more efficiently by turning the boxes this way instead of that way. These tiny little decisions that added up to make a business that was running a little more smoothly and created more space for growth. So at that time, we were in 4,000 square feet. We expanded into 9,000 square feet in that space, and this is a 20,000 square foot facility that is already feeling a little bit cramped in some ways, but we're gonna make it work for a long time. Okay, so Mead is kind of the biggest addition to what we're doing now than before. And Mead, how many of you have ever heard of Mead? How many of you have ever tried Mead? How many of you love Mead and drink it all the time? How many of you make it at home? So Mead is honey, water, and yeast. It's at its most basic element, those are the three ingredients that make mead. And from there, you can have different ratios of water to honey. You can use different kinds of yeast. You can use different kinds of honey. Use different kinds of water. You can add fruits. You can add spices, herbs. You can end up with sparkling mead, a still mead, low alcohol 5% mead, or high alcohol up to 18% mead. Really, the sky's the limit when it comes to mead, which is one of the most fun things about it. And we're not making mead commercially because we have enough on our plate. But what we are doing is showcasing meaderies all over the country that are doing a great job already. So we're serving mead from four or five different meaderies from different parts of the country right now. One from New Hampshire, one from Washington, Point Reyes here in Sacramento. And that makes the Hive a really unique place to experience mead because you're getting to taste a wide variety of styles. Whereas a lot of times if you go to a brewery or a meadery, you're really getting to experience only that company's version of that alcohol, which can sometimes be a nice breadth. But there is this art to mead, which is really fun and beautiful. I've been making mead on a personal level for about 10 years now, and I will continue. It's really fun. I think part of the reason I don't want to make it commercially is because I have so much fun making it at home. But I have 3 batches of mead going right now, which is the most I've ever had at one time. One of them is, the one I'm most excited about is snowberry honey, which comes from Idaho, mixed with elderberries from Cloverleaf Farm in Dixon. My friend Emma started a Cloverleaf Farm in Dixon, and I have another mead with apricots from the same farm that's mixed with our coriander honey. So there's all sorts of different recipes you can play with. The third I have is star thistle honey mixed with cardamom, ground up green cardamom pods. Some of the meads that we have in the tasting room include botanicals like turkey tail mushrooms, cedar tips. There's a lot of interesting things to play with. I didn't bring any mead for you guys to try, but if you can come to the Hive. You come to the Hive, get yourself a tasting flight, and try them all.